This is Future Talk.
Future Talk.
Future Talk with Omnial Saleh and Hani Balkis.
Good afternoon, everyone. 2 p.m. it is, and you're listening to Future Talk right here on Pulse 95. This is the one and only place where we give you a quick roundup of everything that is happening in the tech world, in the UAE, and all around the world. We have a very exciting show in store for everyone, and we're going to be discussing space news happening right here in the UAE, because the UAE astronaut, the first UAE astronaut, the well-known Sharjah Al-Mansouri, has actually completed NASA's supersonic jet training. May I say, this is actually one of the most dangerous trainings that any astronaut could go through, and he did it with flying colors.
Yes, indeed. And you kind of made a joke, flying colors, jet training. I liked it. But we're also talking about how a researcher has found that certain network names can actually disable your Wi-Fi on your iPhone.
Yes, indeed. Who would have thought that certain names of Wi-Fis could potentially harm our very own iPhones? But coming up on today's show, if your kids are stuck at home as we start to begin and to welcome summer break, we have a very exciting camp happening right here in the UAE, more specifically in Sharjah, for all kids to go ahead and learn a little bit more about how tech works. The Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park is holding a very first of its kind tech summer camp for students between the age of 12 and 17 years old. And we're going to be talking to the person who is the organizer of this tech camp, Ismail Touq, who is the head of SoiLAB, the technical workspace at the park. He's going to be joining us today to tell us a little bit more about the different classes that they're offering.
Yes, we were actually really excited when we heard the news, and Omni and I wished we were a little bit younger to join those students and those young kids. But today, if you are interested, we're going to be interviewing him, and he's going to tell us all we need to know about those camps. So keep Pulse 95 locked, because we're going to be right back.
Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
The UAE astronaut that became a household name. Now, everyone across the UAE and even the world at one point in time, that was all they talked about. Major Sharjah Al-Mansouri, who was the UAE astronaut, the first to go to the International Space Station. But yet again, he has put another check on his list as he has completed NASA's supersonic jet training. Now, for just clarification, the T-38 jet does travel faster than the speed of sound, and it actually prepares astronauts for space flights. So Major Sharjah Al-Mansouri just trained to go faster than the speed of sound.
Basically. And it's actually one of the most dangerous trainings that any astronaut could potentially go through. There's actually one incident more than 50 years ago with this training that took 2 astronauts' lives. So you can imagine how scary this training is, but also how important it could be for someone to basically be able to go to outer space.
Yes.
Now, looking at it, Major Sharjah Al-Mansouri actually completed one of the most intense stages of his 30-month training at NASA's Johnson Space Center, flying supersonic jets that travel faster than the speed of sound. T-38 talents have actually been used by the U.S. Space Agency since the 1960s, and just like you mentioned, Hani, they have actually been able to achieve very high speeds, also high altitudes that will create a similar gravitational force experience for any training astronaut.
Yes, now flying the supersonic jet does involve traveling at speeds of Mach 1.6 and experiencing more than 7 Gs. So that is 7 times the force of gravity, which is actually enough to make an average person lose consciousness. Now, in addition, that T-38 Talon jet can climb from sea level to almost 30,000 feet within just 1 minute. Now, we're looking at how Dr. Neyadi, who was the backup astronaut, Sultan Al Neyadi, and how Major Sharjah Al-Mansouri, which was the first Emirati man in space, they have completed more than half of their 30-month training with NASA, and they have actually learned to perform spacewalks and are even being prepared for long-haul space missions. And they must master the workings of the International Space Station. So we're looking at Sultan Neyadi and Major Sharjah Al-Mansouri completing all of those checklists just to make them more prepared for that next space trip.
Yes, indeed. Now, during the training, both astronauts were actually able to learn about the aircraft's capacities, how they're navigating the systems of it, but also they've learned a lot of important standard and emergency procedures that would come in handy in case of any emergency. They've also learned to perform spacewalks, and they are now prepared for long-haul space missions. They're also working on mastering the International Space Station, but also they're learning how to be quick on their feet when it comes to challenging situations. They're being supported by qualified pilots while flying the aircraft, and even though this process is considered low risk in general, it is definitely a very important training that every astronaut should go through.
Yes, and we're looking at, again, how that is another check on their checklist, another badge to put on their shoulders. And again, what you're probably wondering, why is that T-38 training so important? Well, it does help them make quick decisions in challenging situations, and they are actually supported by qualified pilots while flying that aircraft. So there isn't really much of a scare when they do fly. They are already trained to fly aircrafts, and at the same time, they do have those qualified pilots with them. Now, the process is considered low risk, and actually one incident did happen more than 50 years ago, and that did take 2 astronauts' lives. But again, we do hope that God protects Sultan Al Neyadi and Hazza al-Mansouri, and they
did it with flying colors.
Yeah, and they will be excelling through this process. And again, they're already halfway through, so we have another 15 months until we have some new news.
Yes, indeed. Now, if you've been wondering about what happened to the 2 new astronauts that the UAE Space Agency actually announced a couple of months ago, Mohammed Al-Mulla and Noor Al-Matrushi, the first female Arab astronaut, they're going to be both beginning their training in Houston later this year, and we are very excited to share with you the latest updates on that once they arise. Let us know, what are your thoughts, and would you want to become an astronaut one day? If money was not an inconvenience with this, if money was available and you could potentially go to outer space, would you take a seat on one of the new space rockets that have been launched recently? Text us in at 4215, do Itisalat, or slide into our DMs at Pulse 95 Radio. But coming up on Future Talk, if you've been wondering, why is it that some network names don't connect as easily on your iPhone whenever you want to connect to Wi-Fi? Well,
Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
Connecting to Wi-Fi, we all do it. We don't think twice whenever we open up our settings on our iPhones, look through the different network names, and bam, we're just simply connected to Wi-Fi. The most that you'll have to do is simply enter the Wi-Fi password. But a security researcher actually recently found out that certain Wi-Fi networks, they have certain names that make it very difficult for an iPhone to basically connect to Wi-Fi, and in certain incidents even causes bugs, which I thought was actually it's a very weird way of hacking through an iPhone. Not many would have thought of it.
Yes, now a security researcher has actually found that certain Wi-Fi networks with the % symbol in their names can actually disable Wi-Fi on iPhones and other iOS devices. Now, he did tweet that if an iPhone does come in range with a network name, for example, $Hani123%, the device actually won't be able to use Wi-Fi or any related features. And even after resetting those network settings, the bug may continue to render Wi-Fi on the device, making it unusable. Now, a few weeks ago, he and his nonprofit group, which is called Secret Club, did reverse engineer software for research purposes and did find out that if an iPhone is connected to a network with that name percentage, it could actually even cause a bug in iOS's networking stack that would disable its Wi-Fi, and system networking features as well, such as AirDrop, would become unusable.
That hurt my heart a little bit because we all know how convenient it is to use the AirDrop feature on iPhone. For those who have Android devices, AirDrop basically, I think they have a similar one on Android. It's called Quick Share, if I'm not mistaken. It would basically allow you to send files in between different iPhone devices or iPhone with a MacBook computer by simply having your Wi-Fi option turned on and your AirDrop option turned on. But explaining this weird bug, it was very difficult for them to basically simplify it, but The percentage sign, it's like one of those special signs that a lot of cybersecurity experts recommend that we have in our passwords, sometimes even in certain usernames. But when it comes to Wi-Fi names, it's best to avoid them because they're usually used in programming languages to format variables in any string of code. So having that percentage basically means that when the iPhone comes to basically understand that Wi-Fi connection, it's like understanding a new line of code, which could potentially cause a lot of the memory, a lot of the RAM on the computer or the device to sit down and start processing it instead of simply connecting to Wi-Fi. The researcher actually reached out to Apple to see if they're currently working on a fix, and they will hopefully send out an update that we will also keep you updated with. Let us know your thoughts. Have you ever come across any internet connection username with the percentage sign on? I've definitely seen some weird ones. I think once I saw one username that was like, I live here.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Again, I mean, that's pretty crazy stuff, and they did kind of explain why those things happen when it does come to programming. And speaking about programming, ladies and gentlemen, we do have an interview with the head of SoiLAB. His name is Ismail Touq, and we're going to be talking about those summer camps that Omni and I at one time said, man, I wish we were a bit younger.
I still wish I was a bit younger to be able to be a part of this tech camp. Keep Pulse 95 locked. We'll be right back.
This is Future Talk. Future Talk.
Future Talk with Omni Al Saleh and Hani Balkis.
Summer break is one of the most exciting times for any student living right here in Sharjah and all around the world. It's the time where we get to relax, maybe go on a holiday, travel around. But if you're living right here in the UAE and you still don't feel as comfortable to travel, well, you have a chance to advance your learning, but also get to have some fun during this summer break right here in the heart of Sharjah, because the Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park is offering an innovative, first-of-its-kind tech summer camp for any student in the age between 12 and 17 years old. And man, Duhani and I wish we were just a little bit younger to get to even be a part of this tech summer camp ourselves. Joining us today to tell us a little bit more about the different classes that they offer is Ismail Touq, who is the head of SoiLAB, the technical workspace at the Sharjah Innovation Park. Thanks a lot for joining us today, Ismail.
Thanks to you. Thank you for having me here.
It's great to have you on the show, brother. Now, can you tell us how many different camps are currently being offered in this tech summer camp and kind of tell us what they are?
First of all, let me tell you a little bit more about SoiLAB. SoiLAB short of Sharjah Open Innovation Lab, which is a technical space. Think of it as a gym and a co-working space, but instead of working out, you can actually come. Sign up as a member and then just learn how to use the equipment. And we have in the facility lots of equipments which allows you to build anything out of any material. So we have a wood shop, we have a metal shop, we have 3D printers, electronics workstations, we have laser cutters, textile machines. So any projects you can think of, you can just come to us and we will help you out in figuring out how to actually build it. And basically we're targeting any creative people, engineers, students, individuals, hobbyists. Even if you want to come and build something over the weekend, you can possibly do this here. So this summer we are targeting kids from 12 to 17 years old. And throughout 7 weeks, we are basically taking them through different subjects, but we are mainly focusing on developing the skills in designing and making things. So we started off this week with the Maker Camp, which is basically teaching them the basic skills of making. Starting with designing in 2D and 3D. So they learn how to model things and then 3D print them, as well as doing exciting things like designing their own t-shirts or building their own electronic circuits and radios. They'll also learn how to use the laser cutters to create very basic products, and also a little bit of textile skills.
I feel like it's like the perfect
And then
destination.
every week will be slightly different. So next week we will have a 3D printing week where we take them deeper into how to design in 3 dimensions, how to create any products. And this will enable them to expand their imagination then they can go home and think of designing something new, and then they can come back and 3D print it. And then we also have a week for robotics, which basically takes them deeper into the electronics, the coding part, and also the mechanical parts of building a robot. And this also, doing this within the lab and giving them access to the equipment, it will enable them to design their own parts to build these robots. And then we have the fourth week, which is more taking them more in depth into coding on different platforms. And then we have 1 week specifically for autonomous vehicles and how basically the future of driving is going to be, which is having driverless cars. And we have 1 week specifically for aquaponics. And in that week, we're going to teach them how to build their own aquaponics system, which consists of a fish tank and then soilless, basically plant growing chamber. And the last week, we're going to go over some green technologies where they learn how to build their own solar cells and battery bank, and also the wind turbines. So we kind of designed these programs to enable them to have a look at the future, how's it going to look like, and prepare them and get them excited about learning about these technologies.
I
Sounds
think
great
it's
to me.
the perfect destination
Yeah.
for any tech lover, whether it was, learning a little bit more about robotics, autonomous vehicles. These different classes can definitely offer them a very wholesome experience. Coming up on the show, we're going to be talking about what is the perfect age group for this tech camp, but also diving a little bit deeper into what every class has to offer for those students. If you have any questions for Ismail Touq, please share them with us at 4215 Dur Itisalat or slide into our DMs at Pulse 95 Radio. Keep Pulse 95 locked. We'll be right back.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
Every single day, our children, students, you name it, we all consume technology. The first thing you do when a child cries, you hand them out an iPad, you hand them out your phone. But we consume tech on a daily basis, yet we don't always know how tech operates and how it works, and how can we make the most out of the tech that we have, on hand, on the tips of our fingers. So this is exactly why this summer it might be the perfect destination for you to head to the Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park and check out their new Tech Summer Camp. They're offering a diverse range of tech equipment, 3D printers. They're offering different classes to teach your kids all about how tech works. Joining us today to tell us a little bit more about it is Ismail Touq, who is the head of SoiLAB, but also he's the organizer of this Tech Summer Camp, who actually took the time out of his day to come on the show with us and tell us more about how those classes operate. Ismail, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. And we want to know a little bit more about the perfect age for attending these classes. A lot of parents may be tuning in and they're thinking, oh, my kid may be too young, maybe too old. What is the perfect age group for this Tech Summer Camp?
We are targeting kids starting from 12 years old up to the age of 17, specifically for this summer camp. We also do other age groups in the future, but for this specific program, it's going to be 12 to 17 years old. And it's the perfect age to introduce children to these technologies and to get them hooked on 3D printing, design, electronics, and to get them involved more into the making of these products that they are using every day. So instead of playing in video games all day, we teach them how to design a video game, how to design electronic circuits to build something that they can communicate with instead of using their mobile phones without knowing how the inner working of these mobile phones are.
I think that is amazing. Again, we see how at one point in time, now I speak English and Arabic, but now the next generation is going to need to know how to speak the language of programming. And it has become very essential. Now, I don't want to get into how generations are changing, and nowadays you don't have to look to be an engineer. You should be a software engineer. There's a lot of things, ins and outs. Now, we do know that 3D printing has been gaining a lot of attraction recently, especially from kids. Now, what can students learn from this camp when it does come to the 3D printing basics?
So we are focusing on developing their 3D designing skills, which is we are trying to demystify all the advanced technologies that we see them around, but we are introducing the kids in a way that we show them that it is very simple. If you put your mind and your efforts into it, you will be able to learn how to program, how to design, how to create products. So in the 3D printing sessions, we are taking them through the softwares that actually engineers are using at the moment. And we show them how simple it is to learn it, not only here, but they can also go back home, watch some YouTube videos and continue learning. And like within a few months, they can improve their capabilities to be able to design things that are unimaginable.
Absolutely. And it's crazy to see how creative children can be when it comes to using 3D printers and 3D printing designs. One of the camps, though, that got me personally excited for this Tech Summer Camps is the aquaponics camp. Now, it sounds like a big word, but it's actually a very simple concept where you're basically using a fish tank and soilless plant culture, and you're building your own little farm at home. Can you talk to us a little bit about how can students make a farm a reality in their own homes? Is it really as simple as it sounds?
It is actually. So all there is to it is that you are using the fish to be able to fertilize the water, which then feeds the plant, and you just basically circulate the water, and you can grow the plants without even using any fertilizers or even soil. And this is a perfect combination to be able to build a farm at home without even the need to have a garden outside. And believe it or not, you can actually grow a lot of the vegetables that you buy from the market right at home. So we are trying to get the kids to try different to use different tools, different materials, and get them to imagine how they can build their own farm at home.
I think having those kids, have something of their own gives them that sense of responsibility and that sense of ownership that may actually incline them to be more innovative and more kind of self-reliant, independent, and say, hey, that is mine. I want to take care of it because I created it.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to technology, one of the most important topics has been coding. A lot of tech specialists say that coding is the language of the future. So what will the coding camp teach students exactly, since we do know there are dozens of programming languages out there on the market? So what do you start them out with?
Absolutely. Coding actually, it's getting into all kinds of areas of life. Whatever your profession is, within 5 to 10 years, you will have to do a bit of coding. And right now, if you cannot speak English, for example, you cannot get into the work market. In the future, is going to be coding. And coding is not as hard as you can imagine. It's just a list of instructions that you tell the computer or the device to do. And all you have to do is learn how to put these instructions together to in a logical way where you can produce a set of functions. So the idea is to get students to try different coding languages and platforms, whether it's to program a mobile phone or a web page or an electronic circuit to control some LEDs and some motors to automate something at home. And we get them to try different things, and we put them in the right direction to continue self-learning as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I like that a lot. Now, we do know that the camp is currently taking place at the park. And again, I just want to know for everyone listening, how long is the camp going to last, and where can people actually register?
Yeah, the camp will last until the end of August, which is the end of the summer period for the schools. And it's very simple. You just log into SoiLAB.ae, that's SoiLAB.ae, or you can just drop by at the lab at the Sharjah Research Technology and Innovation Park. You can visit us anytime. We're open from 9 a.m. until 10 p.m. Every day, and also on Saturday, 9 till 6 p.m. You can just drop by. We can take you on a tour around the lab, and then you can also register your children and yourself. You can also find out more about our classes. We can teach you welding, we can teach you woodworking, electronics, 3D printing, you name it.
Well, Hani and I should visit the lab, honestly, because we were just talking about how we wish it was open for everyone, not just students from the age of 12 to 17.
Well, I can probably pass for 14. I'm a little bit big for a 14-year-old, but, I got my growth spurt. Puberty hit me early.
As I said, the lab is open for everyone from every age, from any background. Even if you've never made anything or designed anything in your life, this is the place where you get started and you can get to experiment.
Perfect destination. Thank you so much, Ismail Touq, who is the head of SoiLAB, for joining us today, taking the time out of your day. Tell us more about this beautiful summer camp, and I do hope every parent tuning into us right now, every student who is interested in tech, would go ahead and visit the Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park to find out more about it.
Thank you so much, Ismail. You gave us a great insight on what these people can expect when they do sign up for that summer camp.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, coming up on Future Talk, we still have lots to share with you as we talk about the future of healthcare. Hopefully, pretty soon in 2050, researchers say that we may not need a single trip to the doctor. How would that become a reality? Stay tuned to find out more about it.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
We're talking about the future of healthcare, ladies and gentlemen, and how, let's say in about 30 years, everything you do when it does come to your doctor's appointment, to your checkups, will totally change. And we're about to tell you why, because soon enough, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to be implanting a microchip and you will have no more trips to the doctor by the year 2050. Now, we do know that so far our lives kind of resemble a science fiction film, right? And by the year 2050, a microchip implant will carry out tasks we use our mobile phones for. And a Dubai conference has heard about that, and they like the idea a lot. And we're going to be telling you guys about everything you need to know about this microchip that, let's say, maybe in 30 years, all of us will have.
Yes, indeed. And I think anyone who hates going to the doctor's office is going to love this invention. We do know that microchips are the way of the future. We've seen big tech giants, one of them being Elon Musk, basically pave the way for this with the brand new Neuralink. But we also have researchers, healthcare professionals who are basically also talking about implanting microchips in our bodies. These will basically be the passport for your life. They're going to record everything about your vitals, how your body is operating, your work, your health, everything you do. And if you've always hated to get that checkup, your routine checkup at the doctor's office.
But let's be honest, Omnia.
What?
When's the last time anyone did a routine checkup? When's the last time you did one?
I must say I don't go for them often. Maybe routine blood tests, but not a body checkup.
I don't go to the doctor unless something hurts.
I think that's the reality with a lot of people.
And even when it comes to the dentist, to the doctor, if it don't hurt me, I don't go for it. You know what they say, what's not broken, don't fix it.
Sometimes things are broken, we just don't realize that they are.
Oh, that pain that I've been having in my left abdomen for the past 4 years now, it's okay. When I can't move anymore, that's when I'll go to the doctor.
This is exactly why researchers and scientists are actually looking into having body scanners in our own homes. So basically, one day in 2050, you may just wake up, and when you step into your shower, you'll also be having a full MRI taking place, recording all your vitals without you even feeling it. And all this information that will be scanned in your very own shower, can you imagine? It's going to be sent to a medical care team who will use it to decide what vitamins you may need, what drugs you need to take for the day so that you can keep your body at top shape. Now, we do know that a lot of the times, actually, people have a lot of vitamin deficiencies and they have no idea about it until their body just hits rock bottom. One day they wake up, they have zero energy, very big telltale sign that you have really low vitamin D or a vitamin D deficiency. Maybe your blood pressure is struggling, maybe your sugar levels are fluctuating in irregular ways, and you just have no idea about it. So one day in 2050, we may just looking at having our bodies scanned on a daily basis in our very own showers. And I'm honestly very excited about that.
Yes, and a lot of experts kind of do, speculate that mobile phones will be no more and that the majority of the tasks a phone is used for will be performed by the microchip, which will be embedded into our bodies. Now, obviously, you will still be able to view the news of the day, book appointments, or anything else you want, but it will all be transported either neurologically or ocularly by the implant inside of you. Now, that chip will also wake us up calmly, then having to be woken up by the sound of the most hated alarm sound ever. Sometimes I used to get PTSD from it.
You don't want to know what sounds do my alarms make. I have to set a cow noise, a car noise, a dog barking noise.
We should stop talking about this right now, Omni, because I thought you were normal.
I am a very, very heavy sleeper that if my alarms are not different sounds, they'll just blend into my dream.
So for you to wake up, you need to feel like you're in a zoo. So that is what I'm understanding. You're sleeping, everything is good, you're having a dream about future talk, then all of a sudden,
why would I dream of
That's what you hear.
It's different sounds every
oink 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 oink.
No,
oink.
not pigs, but
That's how you wake up.
I have to have different sounds.
Quack 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 quack.
Or
quack.
else they'll blend into my dream. Like the normal sound of the alarm for an iPhone.
Instead of hearing an iPhone sound, you'll be dreaming about ducks.
It'll blend into my dream. I'll start in my dream. Let's say that sound will become the doorbell, or it'll become someone calling me.
Oink 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 oink.
Basically.
Quack 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 quack.
So that's exactly why. It's just I'm very excited for a microchip to be able to wake me up.
So you'll have an alarm on your microchip saying whack whack whack.
No, it'll call me, wake my nerves up. That way, I won't even have to set different alarms.
And I thought I worked with normal people.
Normal people.
Yeah, I mean, again, but it does come into play that we do need to take care of our bodies and we need to take care of ourselves, and most importantly, we need to take care of our mental health.
If you liked this episode of Future Talk, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.